Can't even tell you the number of nights that I cried literally in my bed alone when I first moved here. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing a little story time. One of the most asked questions that I get is how I made friends living abroad. So I thought today would be fun to just kind of talk you guys through like how I made friends. If you guys watch my vlogs, you know I have a bunch of different friends. I don't necessarily have like one big friend group, so I can talk through like how I met everyone and how you can build those networks if you are moving either cities or countries or continents like I did. So I really wanted to make this video to ease anyone's worry if you guys are moving, because honestly, it will be okay. You will make friends. You will not be alone in your bedroom forever. And if you are already living abroad and you feel like you don't have enough friends or you're really lonely, hopefully this will help. So I moved to Australia like 2.5 years ago from Canada. And when I moved, I knew Sean, who's my boyfriend. Obviously, I moved here to be with him, but I didn't know anyone else. And contrary to what a lot of people would probably assume, I didn't become friends with any of Sean's friends. We just don't have the same friend group. We don't socialize together. Like, we have friends now who are couples that we like to hang out with and stuff, but in terms of our friend groups, they're separate. And I made my friend group myself. So I basically came here with nothing. So the first way that I made, like, I guess my first friend was the girl that I was living with when I first moved here. So I lived in a house with a couple for 6 months, and Sean knew them, but he's not like close friends with them. I got along really well with the girl, so we became friendly. She was probably like my first friend. So yeah, if you're moving somewhere where you're gonna have flatmates, that's probably like the first and easiest way to make friends, is just with the people that you live with. We basically became friends because neither of us had a group of friends here really. We had like this common ground, and I think we started becoming friends through text, even though we lived together. Like, obviously we'd be friendly and stuff, but it would be more like over text because you don't know how the other person's gonna react and you don't want to be like embarrassed. So I think like in the first few weeks that I was living there, we would just text each other back and forth, and then one day one of us asked like, oh, would you like to have, you know, like wine on Friday night or whatever. You really do have to put yourself out there when you know, move overseas or even just move cities or whatever, to make friends, because everyone else is gonna have their friend group for the most part, so you have to really like push yourself in there. And then when I started my job, which was about a month later, oh my God, pumpkin. I started my job about a month after I moved to Australia. And while I was in corporate, like I was in recruitment, I would consider recruitment to be like the hospitality of the corporate world. Everybody loves to party. Most people are really young. You just like make a lot of money, spend a lot of money. You definitely live a very fast lifestyle. So at that job, there was a lot of young people in my company. So similar, if you guys were moving overseas and you were gonna be working in hospitality, I know a lot of people move to Australia and work in like bars or cafes. You know, like you'll find a lot of other expats that are in the same boat, and you can become friends with them. So that's how I met Laura. So Laura became one of my best friends here. And really, like, all you need is one friend, and then suddenly you will have a group of friends, or at least like a lot more friends. Because through Laura, I met Shannon and Maddie. So the way that Laura met Shannon, she didn't actually know her back from Scotland. It was like a friend of a friend's sister or something like that that like knew Shannon. And that will happen when you move places. Like, people will be like, oh, my friend's sister's cousin's twin lives in Sydney too. Like, here's her contact info. You guys should hang out. And like, honestly, 9 times out of 10, you do hang out and you actually do become friends, because you guys will both have a lot in common, being both expats, or even if you're just in different cities, like living in a different city away from people or whatever, and everybody's there to kind of help each other out. So that's how Laura met Shannon. They like hung out a couple times alone, and then she brought her for drinks one time with us after work. And so then, yeah, we just all kind of became friends. And then same with Maddie. Laura met Maddie through her boyfriend at the time, because she was dating, or she is dating, his best friend. So then they became friends, and same thing, like she just started bringing Maddie around. So that's another thing that you guys have to do. It's something that people don't think about back home. It's like when you make a new friend, you already have your group of friends back home. So a lot of people don't think to like integrate their friend groups, but you definitely have to do that when you live in different cities or different countries. So that's how I met like Laura, Shannon, Maddie. And it honestly just becomes a thing where like you'll realize that as adults, everybody needs friends, even if they're from here, or even if they seem like they have a group of friends or whatever it is. Like, everybody always wants more friends, feels like they don't have enough friends, needs more friends, or, you know, just wants that like stability. So even though, you know, Maddie had been living in Sydney for a while and she's Australian, and like Shannon had her boyfriend, and then she had her boyfriend's sister and all of her friends and stuff here, like everyone still wanted to be friends with me. Not in a conceited way. I never felt excluded. Like, people still you know, want that friendship. So that's how I met them. And then I actually met my friend Nicola because I was at a girls' night that one of my other friends had brought me to. She like met someone through an app actually called Hey Vina, and I used it. I didn't meet anybody on it. This is for friends, by the way, like girls, and I think it's just Australian. But yeah, I did go on like a couple dates like with other girls, like to see if we'd be friends, and it didn't work out. That's another tip, is like there are these like kind of friendship apps like Bumble, BFF and stuff like that. Like you actually can find a lot of like really cool girls on those apps. So my friend met this girl on an app, and then she brought me to this girls night with a bunch of her friends, and then Nicola was a +1 as well. And then Nicola and I just became friends because we were all sitting around the table together, and like we just really like hit it off as friends, and then we just kept in contact. And again, like Nicola's Australian, has tons of friends already in Sydney, but because when you're an adult, like you just could always use more friends apparently. She was just down to be my friend. So yeah, we would just like message, and now we see each other, you know, often. She's like one of my good friends here. So that's how I met her. And again, it all comes back to like you will meet people along the way, but it's not the same as back home. You might meet someone, you know, and then never think about them again. But when you're in a whole different place, you need to think all the time. Sorry, you can probably hear Pumpkin growling. I'm like pulling a toy for her so she calms down. You have to think about the fact that you need friends. So, you know, you have to make sure that you don't leave that party without that person's number that you really like. You have to make sure that, you know, you message them the next day and say, oh my God, it was so nice to meet you. Like we should totally go for coffee one time. Like you don't even need to like make it a big deal. You can just say, let's meet for coffee, let's meet for lunch, things like that. And then the other ways that I've made friends, so I've actually made a couple friends on Instagram. That is like a really big way to make friends. And I feel like people feel weird sliding into each other's DMs, but it's honestly not that weird to slide into people's DMs. Like people do it all the time. So I met my friend Laura, the German one that I've showed in a few of my vlogs. She's gone now. So was my other Laura, but I met her because she did an exchange at my high school when we were in like grade 10 or something, all the way from Germany. And then she moved to Sydney and like, I don't know, found out from someone that she still stayed in contact with, I think, that I was living in Sydney. And then she sent me a message on Instagram and she was like, I don't know if you remember me. I did an exchange at your high school. Do you want to go for breakfast? And I feel like when people get those messages, like even I do, and I've made friends on Instagram, like you're just a little bit apprehensive. So at first I was like, I don't know. That's a bit weird. But I went for brunch with her and it was like the best brunch. Like we just immediately hit it off, and it's like, you know, when you just meet someone and you both just click so well, it was like that. And I was so happy, and she became one of my good friends here. You don't need to be worried if you want to hang out with someone. If you like see someone's profile, you follow their content and they live in the same city and you would love to hang out with them, like just message them. Like honestly, 9 times out of 10 they'll say yes, and the worst they can say is no, and they'll probably forget about it like a week later. So that is actually a really good way to make friends. And then the way I became friends with Karis and Indigo and Kiara, who are kind of like my new friends, is I met them all at events. Obviously we followed each other on Instagram and started talking on Instagram and then seeing each other at events. And so that's more specific to our industry, but I guess in terms of like career, if you guys are in, you know, like a role where you go to like networking things or industry events, that's another great way to meet people. Is you don't necessarily just have to meet them at work, you can meet them at those events. And that's kind of what happened with us. We all just clicked really well, and again, like all of them have very established lives here, have been living here for a very long time, know tons of people, have boyfriends here, like things like that, but they still are open to having new friends. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, is don't feel nervous about asking people to hang out and feeling like you're imposing on their life because they already have their life set up, if they're like from that city or that country or whatever it is, because you never know. Like as an adult, everyone is so busy. Everyone feels like their friends are in a million different directions. Like you could be that friend that they're actually looking for right now. So just don't be embarrassed. So that's basically how I made my friends. I hope that this video gave you guys some encouragement. I know it wasn't really like a step-by-step with tips on how to make friends, but again, like everyone's experience is so individualized. I didn't feel like that video would be relevant to everyone. I just more like wanted to share my experience and give you guys that perspective and hopefully encouragement, like hearing my story and how I didn't know anybody, I had no friends. So, you know, I made all my own friends, and it's a lot easier than you think it will be, but you do have to put yourself out there and you have to say yes a lot. That's one of my biggest tips, is in the first year that you live here, no matter how badly you might want to like go to the gym after work, or just have a Netflix night alone, or like cry in your room, or Skype someone from back home. All those things are important to do sometimes, but I cannot stress enough how much you have to say yes in that first year to actually build relationships. You're building your whole life over again. You just have to be that person that's like, yep, I'll skip my gym session to, you know, go have dinner with this person because I need friends. And again, you don't have to do it all the time, and you don't have to take it to the extreme that I did, where I was like having after work drinks like 5 days a week, but you do have to make socializing a priority. And even when you're feeling sad, like even if you're like, oh my God, I'm so lonely, I'm so homesick, like the last thing I want to do is go make small talk with a stranger. Just force yourself to do it. You will be so happy you did it. You'll feel so much better. There were so many times when I didn't want to go meet up with people, whether I already had met them or it was like, you know, an Instagram DM and I was gonna go meet them, and I would complain to Sean and be like, oh, I really don't feel like it. And he would say, just do it. You will feel so much better after. And every single time I felt so much better after, even if they didn't become my friend, like even if nothing came from that, just socializing and getting out and like, you know, meeting new people and just all of that just makes you feel so much better. So anyways, guys, this video has become very long as usual. So I hope this gave you guys some encouragement and some inspiration. Again, it's not as hard as you think it will be. And if you are currently living abroad and feeling really lonely, don't worry, it 100% will get better. Can't even tell you the number of nights that I cried literally in my bed alone when I first moved here the first year. It's really hard, but it gets so much better, and it will eventually feel like home, and you'll be so happy. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know if you guys have any other videos that you want, you know, to see. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. Bye.